māku e te mata, ki tōku nei whakaaro kao. No, government is definitely falling short of meeting its mark there in terms of the teaching and learning of te reo Māori in the early years sector. And that highlights so that one of the major issues there is the accessibility to resource because the Māori medium sector is not on a par. So in a sense, it's in breach of Article 3 of Te Tiriti o Waitangi in terms of the mana o rite angle. It could go a long way to bolstering up the resource and ensuring accessibility within the sector to whakapakari, educated practitioners for the Māori medium sector.
Right. And to take that a step further, I would feel like more broadly, the government is failing the early childhood sector over many years and not ensuring the high quality of te reo throughout mainstream and Māori medium early childhood. And we've had Te Whāriki since 1996, and we've needed much more to happen in that space. And we're now 25 years on, and we're feeling frustrated because the government seems to continually prioritise the compulsory sector at the expense of early childhood, and not recognising the importance of the early years as foundational for establishing languages, and especially te reo when it needs all the support it can get from an early age.
Yeah, that's exactly it, because the thinking still that remains dominant, perhaps maybe not explicitly so, but still in the minds and the thinking of a lot of people, is that you really don't learn how to, you don't start learning until you turn 5 and go to school. That's what institutionalisation does. And yeah, the early years sector being outside of that compulsory sector has led to that that not the inequity in the early years sector, which, as you say, is critically important in terms of te reo Māori. I mean, 97% of Māori children are sitting in the dominant mainstream sector. So those stats speak for themselves.
And whilst I wouldn't like to see kohanga reo lose whakapakari qualified staff, I'm sure they could offer a lot to the wider puna reo and other centres. But I also think the government should be prioritising more tohu that are not aimed just purely for kohanga reo, but are designed like our Kitaia program was back at Waikato in the 90s, designed to prepare people to be able to deliver a te reo Māori program, and that we need more of those kinds of tohu.
Yes,
more places.
There just has to be an assurance, I think, that the beneficiaries, as the direct descendants to those signatories of Te Tiriti o Waitangi, with all our taonga, that the beneficiaries, like te reo Māori, remains a central po, and the beneficiaries are those descendants first and foremost. And that's what I mean by the mana whakahaere should always be positioned within Māori community and accountable to Māori community, particularly those descendants. So as Timothy Karetu puts it, mata mua ko te kupu. So, that's the central po of what's happening in the Māori medium sector, of course, in the early years. So, yeah, the Waitangi tribunals have long been, the research that's been done within that space has long since, been showing how there's such a dearth of practitioners, of registered teachers for the Māori medium sector, because they have to be not only good speakers of te reo Māori, but knowledgeable in terms of how young children think and learn, and also in terms of language acquisition, because we're working with bilingual. We want children to be, at the end of the day, brilliant speakers of te reo Māori, and being able to access the whole knowledge base and the mātauranga Māori that's housed within that language and in that world, and then also be able to transition competently and confidently across into English language provision and knowledge and knowledgeable in that space as well.
And every survey of whānau Māori that I've ever seen has prioritised that they want their tamariki to speak Te Reo, and they want that to be accessible to them through whatever schooling is available to them. And yet only 3% of our tamariki Māori are in Māori medium schooling. So that's
to access the resources there and the benefits of being schooled in Māori medium. Yeah. And so, yeah, there's needs in both sectors, in the English medium sector and the Māori medium sector. English medium, because that's where the majority of our children are positioned. Māori medium, because that's where they get that real access to Māori ways of thinking and knowledge and ways of being.
Tēnā rawa kōrua me rā whakaro, nui ngā whakaro, nui hoki ngā wero kei mua tonu i te aroaro.
Te pau.
Aye. Also, the ministry want to increase Māori medium to at least 30% by 2040. So there's a lot of investment and a lot of work to be done to meet those goals and those aspirations. Nā reira, tēnā koutou, ngā ti nohinohi e whakarongo mai nā, kei wareware, mena rā he pātai wā koutou, tukuna mai hei kai mā ngā tokorua nei. Nā reira, mauri ora kia tātou. Tēnā rawa atu ko ruatahi.
Kia ora.